That was a nice introduction, but swear me, I have nothing to do with taxes. So, but I'll ensure the automation whichever we are building take care of any application we send out to users, which has the quality, so you don't lose money basically. So, hello everyone. I'm Hariprasad Babu. As you can see there, I'm the manager of technology at H&R Block. And I'm not from here. I'm traveling from another country, and you can guess maybe it is from the land of Guinness. Any guesses? Yes, I'm from Ireland. Well done. And I'm primarily focusing on the rollout and adoption of IDP in our organization. So we do a lot of things, but I would love to start with a topic of why it matters. So let's start with the why the developer experience matters. You see a number there that is 40 to 60% of the time spent by the developers are on non-coding, non-strategic work. And is that what any one of us signed up for? No, right? Because we would love to do innovative, creative work rather than focusing on the repetitive task. And as an engineering leader, that is not I wanted for my team as well. I would love them to be creative, do more things which is meaningful to them. So what is the impact of it? The impact will be slower onboarding, low quality, and we don't find happier teams anymore. So if we really invest time on DevEx improvements, the payoff is huge. You will be able to see the productivity will be increasing. We will see the team is happier. We have faster time to market and better quality as well. So let's talk about what was our situation. So our situation was not different from most of the things which you might see here. We also had fragmented tools, and the visibility was so poor for the team itself. And there were a lot of manual workflows where a lot of manual intervention was needed, and people were looking for, okay, what should I do? It was a situation where a lot of things has to be done in that way. And we had standards. If we ask any teams they said, okay, we are following standards, Hari, and this is how we are doing it. But when we try to see it whether it is a standard across teams, we found okay, there is no such standards, which can be scaled to all the teams as well. And what is the impact? We had high cognitive load on the teams where they were looking for, okay, what is the data they have to work on? What is the exact work that they have to do? There were a lot of complex processes, so much thought process they have to apply. It was a huge impact on our capacity of what they have to do on a periodic basis as well. So we were looking at, okay, how we can systematically solve this problem by providing, efficient way through automation. So the solution was smart automation through a internal developer platform, and our choice was Cortex. So let's talk about what we really did in that space through our automation pillar. So I would love to take you through a journey, the challenges we faced, the adoption of the 4 pillars we had, and its impact on how it improved our developer experience and happier team as well. So what we did is we looked at the problems which we had. We tried to map them into 4 pillars of automation, each one focusing on what the developers and as a platform team we have to focus at each stages. So even before start talking about actionable or scalable automation, we wanted to start with visibility, because people need to know what is my data first, right? Even before talking about scaling up the automation and also looking at, okay, what are the areas they have to improve as well. So we picked visibility as the most important thing first of all. We give engineers their data. We help them to understand it, own it. We help them to, take action on it and make sure they clearly understand the data. So through the actionable insights and dashboard pillar, that is what we were trying to achieve. And once you see that they know what is their data is and what they really own, we then introduced a set of org levels industry standards to all of the teams, just to see how good they are in terms of these standards through our automated governance and compliance. Obviously, you can guess the result. because we found a humongous number of compliance issues, and can we fix them all together by a smaller timeline? That was not possible. So we have to identify a path by which we can achieve this also. So we came up with this, intelligent prioritization where we look at what is most important to us. So we wanted to start small but high impacting tasks, start automating them, and then scale up the automation through the intelligent workflows as well. And finally, we were able to slowly, transform all this individual manual work into a place where it is scalable automation as well. So we are now in a state where we could see, like, okay, there are a set of standards we apply to all the teams in the organization, and how we can prevent it for the future. So that is where we were looking at investing time on the self-servicing scaffolder pillar, which will help the team to not just work on the housekeeping activities, but work more on the actual meaningful work. So let's look at each one of these pillars in action by looking at the challenge, the solution, the impact we had on the process, and how it improved the developer experience. So the challenge was, we had this data. We had collected data from, 60 different applications, which was massive. And we were struggling to find, okay, who really owns this data? So that was a fundamental problem which we want to address first, like who owns what data? So to address it, what we did is we partnered with the Flex team, which is an option from the Workday, and we set up this in our organization where each application not only mapped to a reporting structure, but also it provides the feature where you can see, like, okay, this application is worked out by this particular Flex team. So now you have a system of record for what is the application and who owns the data. Now, it is an individual, source of truth, right? Now you need to make sure that source of truth is being cascaded to all the tools and technologies within the organization. So we applied an automation where we took this source of truth system, and we have a set of tools and data onboarded in our IDP, and we cascaded the ownership to all the system. So the result was really helpful because now you have a single source of truth for all your ownership mapped to all the system. And there was one more challenge as part of it because we solved who owns the data, but that was not just for the team itself. We wanted to see, like, who are the leadership team who want to see this data as well at different, levels as well. Usually, how it was provided was through a set of dashboards created by each individual team. So each team was showing their own data in their own ways, and the leaders have to look at the data based on their understanding, have sessions with the teams, and understand it so that they can really understand what they are trying to do. And also, we have a lot of Power BI reports. So what happens, each people were representing the data in their own way and was trying to understand, graph the data based on their own understanding as well. So what we did is, since we have the data, the ownership is also mapped. We know who owns from a leadership perspective as well as the squad perspective. We built a single dashboard which is based on 4 major areas, which is security, resiliency, SDLC practices, and quality. So now you have a single dashboard which is going to show the leadership team and the squad what is their data on, what is their compliance rating, all those information in a single place. So now if my leader is asking me, like, okay, Hari, why are you 50% on your resiliency score? I have to go and ask my team, like, why it is 50%. Now through the IDP, we don't need to answer that question anymore because you have the same data, same percentage shown to the team as well as to the leadership. So it gives that transparency throughout the organization, which was really helpful. And we started our IDP journey last year. So it was first year. So we are defining the baseline metrics last year. Now this year, all our engineering leaders are looking at this data to define their KPIs and also the goals for this year on the targets as well. So it was very helpful for the team as well as the leadership team to see that one. And maybe, I don't know how many of you guys have this challenge. We have the engineering team who focuses on the delivery side through the actual work they are doing, and we have the product partners who always try to push, okay, these are the features I wanted from the team, send out to the actual users. So these are the non-functional requirements we are asking the teams to do, right? And there has been a constant friction between engineering team and the product team just to explain, okay, what they have to be done in time. And usually, we find some compliance gap and immediately we ask the teams to do it, but they are already working on core features. Can they work on these requirements immediately, these non-functional requirements immediately? No, right? So with this ownership and the actionable insight we were able to provide, the product team was able to look at this data clearly and say that, okay, I now see these are the things we have to do from from a compliance perspective, and let me bring that into the PI planning. So we do the program incremental planning, and that planning in the past was only driven for the features they were developing. Now, it is not only factoring in those features they have to deliver, but also they look at what they have to do from the non-functional requirement perspective as well. And this is an year-round insight they are getting. So that was really helpful. And as I mentioned, what was the improvement we were able to make on the developer side? They no longer need to hunt the data which they really own, because it is in front of them through the ownership they had, and they can now focus on more strategic work. So once we have the data established, we are a seasonal business. That means during the off season, we scale down a lot of things. And towards the season, we have to scale up things again as well to keep our operational costs low. So what happened was the engineers were always focusing on the feature development throughout the first half of the year. Towards the second half of the year, they will be asking, okay, what are the non-functional requirements I have to work? And there will be a huge inflow of requirements coming from the non-functional perspective as well. So it was like 70% of the time they were spending on non-functional requirements rather than developing the actual strategic work. And also we have to sit with our leadership team 3 to 5 days. It includes not only the senior management team, but all the 60 different application team members, their lead engineers, tech managers, directors, architects, principal engineers, all of them, to just prove out that we are ready for the season. Do we need to do it? Do we need to sit with a group of people in a room, like so stressing out to prove that, okay, my team is ready for the season? We don't need to, right? So that is what we were trying to address by introducing a scorecard called our Pillars of Excellence scorecard. And that scorecard was primarily focusing on 4 key areas, which is security, resiliency, code coverage, and the SDLC best practices. So with this introduction last year, we were able to get rid of this 3 to 5 days of war room kind of meetings where we don't need to provide anything to anyone, because the engineers and the leaders can take the scorecard and see like, okay, what is the current compliance rating of each one of these areas. And also we had the 65 critical revenue generating application, which we were able to bring 20 plus non-functional requirement. And we were able to show like, okay, we are ready for the season without adding any extra work towards the second half of the year. And I have put 2 major metrics as well, which is how it has impacted our mean time to resolve and mean time to acknowledge for the incidents as well. Because we used to have 24 hours, more than 24 hours for certain incidents to be resolved. The critical incidents were resolved within our time. But if it was not critical, people waited for those incidents to be auto-resolved as well, which is not necessary. So we were able to put up the scorecard, which helped them to say like, okay, I not only needed to look at the critical one, but I have to be compliant for the others as well. So our MTTRs brought significantly down as well. So what it matters to the engineering team, because as I mentioned, they started working on these solutions for the feature development towards the beginning of the year, but as soon as we hit the second half of the year, it is a constant firefighting, right? So the context switching was something everybody hated. So with this scorecard, no context switching was needed, because year-round you are getting the visibility to the same data, what need to be compliant, and they're working on it. So less context switching and more focus on the feature delivery was enabled. And obviously, we are a huge company with a vast amount of tech stack as well. So what happens is whenever there is a tool, Now I see like, okay, each tool have a platform team, and the platform team wanted to implement some best practices for the every team using it as well. So we had 6 to 7 different, shared services team who wanted to implement their own, best practices and standards, pushing into each individual teams. And we had the architect group, we had the principal engineers group, we had the quality excellence team. There were so many teams, each trying to, find what the squads has to work for them, right? And what happened was it was too overwhelming for the teams, because if you are being asked to do something by 10 different teams, will you be able to achieve it on time without compromising deliverables, right? On the features which you are committed to deliver to your end user. So we had this technical priority program, which we took up last couple of years back, where we streamlined the process where it was all coming through that particular team. But the problem was it was reported by 6 to 7, program managers, where they have to literally go to each individual 60 applications and ask, okay, are you compliant for X? Are you compliant for Y? And based on the words, they have to say, like, yes, this team is compliant. And they use this traffic signal reporting system with green, yellow, red, just to say, like, whether they are compliant or not. Was it effective? Like people going and asking the team whether you are compliant or not? It was not. So we replaced that program, and all the requirements coming from different channels, we streamlined into one single source of truth, which is the IDP system. So now we have more control over what the team has to do as well. And also have to call out, before it was brought into the IDP program, each program manager, they are not very technical people. So they introduce the program of what the team has to do. So they will only tell them, okay, you're out of compliance. This is what you have to do. They never given more details of what need to be, how it need to be done, or why it has to be done. Because if you are asked to do something, you will only like to do it if you understand, okay, why I have to do it, and if I need support, who I can rely on as well, right? So with the program adoption we did in our IDP, we were not only able to tell them what need to be done, but how to be done and why it need to be done as well. And you might see I have put a point like, removed manual work of 6 to 7 PMs. Don't take me wrong. We are not, bad people where we fired all the 7 people. Those people are still working in H&R Block, but they are working on more effective work which is relevant to the individual squad. And what we noticed is when you verbally ask people whether they are compliant, the scope is defined by themselves, right? And we have to rely on them stating, okay, this is what they have achieved, so they are compliant. But we have to wait until something goes wrong to feel like, okay, they didn't tell us the full story. So rather than doing that, we have this hydrated catalogs. So we started applying automation to see like what is the scope of work each team has to do. And we did a comparison with the previous year data, and we noticed that at least there is a 20% increase in the data or the scope which they have to really adhere to. So that was an eye-opener for all of us, the importance of automation, because it not only relied on the words of people, but also automatically identifying these additional requirements they have to follow, and they brought it to the attention of people. So what was the improvement we were able to do the DevEx side? We were able to implement small scale automation, which was lightweight, because we were not trying to fix all of them in a combined way. We were talking about each small work and how we can automate it as well. So through this program, we were able to see like, okay, what is the most important thing team has to do even before it becomes a problem. So that is what it improved, and it replaced all the manual work the team has to follow. So we talked about how we give data to people to see what they own it. And then we talked about how the industry standards were applied so that they were able to, comply them when something goes wrong. And then with the program, we were able to be proactive in bringing small, lightweight automation, which helped the team to be compliant even before it becomes an issue. Now you can see what is the pattern here, because so far it is either reactive, where something went wrong and the scorecard is going to show you, okay, you're out of compliance, now you have to fix it, right? And the team has to switch to the actual work. Now with the priority program, we were able to be proactive, but it was still a small, lightweight automation at low scale, right? So now we are in a state where we know like, okay, these are the compliance team has to follow, and these are the things I have to adhere. So why don't we apply it proactively even before it becomes a problem for anyone? So we are currently working on this scaffolder for Greenfield project, where any new application that is going to be created in H&R Block that will use this self-servicing scaffolder, which will already apply all these best practices and standards. So by default, when you are checking out your repo, or if you're trying to create a new project, it has all the CI/CD best practices. It will have all the repo best practices. It will set up the infrastructure in the way it is supposed to be as well. So less work for the team. And right now we were looking at a base metric, how much time it takes in our organization to set up a project. So we see like, okay, it is a sprint worth time, which is 3 to 4 weeks, and we would love to bring that down to a less than a day so that we can improve on it. But it is very aspirational work. I'm not saying like, okay, we have achieved it. This is where we started 1 year back with the data insights, slowly transitioning to the scorecard, making people aware like, okay, we are not here to steal their work, because this is the developer experience improvement area, right? So if we keep bringing automation and things, people can automatically think, all the developers can think, okay, why a platform team is coming and doing my work, right? So we want to build a story for them. We are not here to take your work. We are trying to help you to get rid of all the repetitive manual work which you are trying to do, and you focus on more innovative feature development, which will add more value from a revenue perspective. So we are trying to set up this scaffolder, which will create a project less than an hour time, and it will always have the automation applied with the org standards as well. So the DevEx which we are trying to improve is more focused on the feature development than the setup. We would love the team to focus on that rather than the configuration part. So that is what we are trying to do. And finally, my takeaways are here. We're talking about the automation here. And as you can see here, we didn't start with the scaffolder upfront, right? Because we wanted to build the confidence with the people, and we want to also show the developers that we are here to support them by showing their data, make them understand where they are having gaps, and slowly increasing it. So I just want to call out, automation is not magic. We can use AI tools, still it is not magic. So you start smaller level and try to improve on it. But at each stage, the most important thing which is matters is incorporating the developer feedback, because that is one thing we usually forget, because you wanted to bring more and more standards to the organization. But does that add value? If it is not adding value, do you want to really introduce an extra complexity and a layer to the existing system? So I would definitely say, like, whenever you are doing something, start small, but always keep scalability in your mind. Then only it is going to succeed. And whenever we standardize it, please don't bring more and more complexity, and don't restrict the flexibility. Because if you make it too rigid for the developers, you're not improving their experience. So you need to find a balance between how the standardization is going to help without making it too rigid for people to just adhere to it, because that is what I was asked to do. We have to find a balance for it. And one thing we learned from our experience is, from the past, we used to polish the data a lot, because say if you see 20 repos which is out of compliant, we'll say, okay, 10 repo is the only thing which we need to report. The other 10 are POC work, from the past. It is supposed to be archived, or something like, okay, it is a QA repo, so we don't need to consider it. That was the pattern we used in the past. But we don't want to do it. We wanted to surface the data, everything, and show the team, okay, this is what you have. If there is a repo which you are not using, archive it. If it is a QA repo, use the naming convention to show that it is a QA repo. So don't polish your data by assuming things. Make sure you surface those data, and let's have a collaboration with the actual users of it, so that they will see, like, okay, where do we come from and what is the value it is going to add also. So removal of junk is very important, but don't assume that. And whenever we are automating something, always make sure you have the developer mindset, and we are developing something for them as well. And finally, I would say that whatever you're trying to do, it need to have a value. You're not trying to do something which is going to help everyone. It has to be measurable, and it need to show the value to the people as well. So make sure whatever you're trying to automate, it is not the sake of automating something. It has to have a value as well, and show the people what the value is. So that is the takeaways I would say for you from the session. And I would love to hear your opinion and feedback. And I'm ready to take any questions you guys have.
Sorry.
Yeah, thanks for the talk. You mentioned, I think, earlier about automating some of the ownership of repos and code bases when you've got like a lot of them out there and you're not sure who they belong to. Have you come across the situation where sort of nobody wants to own it, kind of orphaned code bases, and any advice on how
Gotta
to
be a little
deal with
bit
that?
more louder because sorry.
Oh, sorry. You mentioned, I think, that you automated some of the ownership of some of the code bases early on in the process. At my last two companies, we've had issues where there's like orphaned code that's in production. Nobody really wants to own it. I'm not sure which, like you could assign it to the team that last touched it, perhaps, but they don't really want to own it either. So curious if you have any advice or have come across that when you were doing that exercise.
You mean specific to the ownership?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say we had we have different system which had showing ownership for that particular item, but it was not generalized to everything. So I remember our conversation with Ganesh one time specifically about this problem where we were talking about we have Azure DevOps, where we have defined the teams where we could use it. But we kept it as a system in such a way that we kept adding more and more people, but we never ever removed people from the system. So what happened was whenever we were taking an application to see who owns it, we saw like, okay, there is 100 people. Like in reality, there is no 100 people working on one project specifically, right? So we wanted to make sure like, okay, if we need to do what I can do is I can look at what is there and take 100 people, show that to everyone, and then let them come back and say, like, okay, this 50 people are not relevant to that project, so remove it. But does it mean the best way? Because we are not addressing the problem, because it can constant push from the team that, okay, if 10 other people were added, it is the same problem you have to fix periodically, right? So find a source of truth for this ownership. And if you need to partner with a different team, do that, because you are not trying to solve the problem all by yourself, right? You have to partner with other shared groups as well. Bring your problem to those group org wide, have a conversation and find whether you can clean up a particular system, then do that. So it becomes that one system which you can rely in future rather than using it as a backup. So that is one thing we did. We don't want to go with what we had, because we work with this group of people. If Workday is able to give me like, okay, these are the active people working in my company, how can I use it to define who is working on a particular application from it? So we were trying to navigate the problem a lot, but I saw in the keynote that the way ownership is going to be identified automatically through the AI could be a solution as well. But we haven't invested it much in it, because still we saw like we have shared teams who can still contribute to the application. So the ownership could be a little bit, not 100% accurate. So we want to rely on a system used by the actual team. Like, if you have a team of 5 people, that is what we have to show, rather than guessing, okay, there are 10 people in it. But I think the accuracy is going to be great over a period of time if you are going to use the system with the AI as well. So either, I will definitely recommend you to look at whether the AI solution with the ownership, which you can rely on, or look at what are the current system you have it. Take a note of each system, build a conversation with those teams, and see which one will be the best one you can use. Don't agree if you see like, okay, none of these systems are the one you have to use. You find a system which is valuable to you, and if you need to do a new integration or purchase something, do that, so that it is a long-term achievement you're going to get out of it. So that is what we did basically.
Thanks.
Yes. One more.
Hey, hello.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you for the transparency. Like a lot of the stuff you covered, I'm very interested. Process guy. It touches on. We just evaluated Workday to flex teams for using it as a system of record. It's interesting to see that. we have the same problem. Like, how do you prioritize non-functional requirements against PI planning product backlog, right? One question or two-part question. Do your flex teams, are they self-service? Can I, as a manager of a team, can I add and remove people? And number two, do you associate access? Is access driven by membership in the flex teams?
So right now, what we do is we have every single team has a product manager. So we give the flex team owner as the product manager. So they are responsible for updating and keeping track of the flex team up to date. But we don't want to leave it thinking, okay, the manager is going to be proactive in terms of keeping the flex team active. So right now, there is a periodic email goes every 3 months to the group of flex team hosts to see whether their flex team is accurate or not. So right now, there is no self-servicing solution in place, but we would love to take one of those as the use case for future, just to automate the process, like how we can identify the people, because we have a active directory, we can see who are the active people, and then cross compare it with the flex team which we have hydrated in our IDP, and then say, okay, there is this delta we see and how they can be removed as well. So right now it is pretty manual right now. But I mean, when I say manual, the creation of flex team are manual, but the way we hydrate that ownership information into our IDP is through automation. We use their APIs, which is pretty robust as well. So that is, I think, first part of your question. And second part of your question was about how we give the ownership.
Does team membership and role drive access?
Yes, we do that also, because through the integration from the Flex team, we can definitely see the ownership of each person. And we are glad that the Cortex is providing us an out-of-box integration with Flex team, where, I mean, not specifically Flex team Workday, which also pulls the business title of the person. So if we wanted to apply a certain rules to a group of people, we can query using the role and apply to them specifically as well. We are leveraging it right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, perfect. So I think that's my time. So I have my principal engineer also here, Felipe. If you are there somewhere, I can't see you. If you can wave your hand. He's my technical person. So if you have more deeper question about how we're hydrating things or how we are adopting this automation across these 4 pillars, we'll be around. Feel free to reach out, and I'm more than happy to answer any question. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful day.